Yes, good evening, good evening, good evening, Dominica. Good evening, Chicago. Good evening, Buffalo, New York. Pastor Giles will hopefully join us a little bit later on. Ninka and Dominica and Posse, good night, good evening. Dr. Reverend Dr. Terrence Z. Godson, right here in the Shy. Good evening, good evening, good evening, world. Welcome to Peaceology State here on the 9th day of February of the year 2026. I am your host, Dr. Peter KB St. Jean. I will be again without our regular co-host because it's the middle of the semester and she's got a lot of work to do. So join us sometime, Patrice KB St. Jean over there in Mizzou, in Columbia, Missouri. And we want to thank you for joining us for tonight's show. We want to let you know, as usual, we intend to bring you the very best that we have to bring. We actually have a great conversation tonight. We have a great topic. You guys may have heard last week when we, on the second, when we were on Kyrie FM, and we were talking about the same topic of how best should we participate in a vision that may not reach its fullest potentials while we are still alive. You know, and in Peaceology State and in Peaceful Nature Isle, the show that we have on Kyrie FM on the different Mondays of the year, of the month, we will be having discussions around various themes. And as you know, I am the founder of Peaceology, that I define as the science and practice of low stress and high joy. And Peaceology was founded right in the beautiful village of Trafalgar, extended there with Woking Grand Bay in 1996. We went over to Chicago, Illinois in the year 1997, and in Buffalo, New York in the year 2002. This is the 30th anniversary of the research that ended up to the discovery and the formation of Peaceology, the scientific approach, the science and practice of low stress and high joy. I am here to be a facilitator, to learn with you, to grow with you, and we have a great show lined up. Let me just say good night. We have two guests there with us so far. Pastor Giles from Buffalo, New York, should be joining us later on. And we have Willie Favrier, who was 30 years ago the chairman of the Grand Bay Village Council, who is not able to join us in the first hour of the show. You know, it's 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time. It's 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, and it's 6 to 8 p.m. for us here in the central area. Ninka, bonsoir. Sakafet, bonsoir. Ninka, introduce yourself. You there? Turn on your mic and introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah. I there, man. I'm Ninka. From Gambia. But before we start, I want to tell my mother, I want to say something. I want to
go ahead, express yourself. Say what you want to say.
Thank my mother for being there for me, and to thank my mother for being there for me and being a good support system to me. And you check.
Tell her name. Go ahead and say who she is and all that. If you want to, you're gonna say who she is.
Oh, Leon Fairpacket from Grand Bay.
Right.
Leon Fairpacket from Grand Bay. That's right. My mom.
Hopefully she's listening to us. Yeah. And Ninka, we are glad to have you here because your voice is an important voice. Yes, and thank you. Thank you for thanking your mom, Ninka. You can put off your mic for the moment. We are here. Turn off your mic for the moment. We'll get back to you in a moment. But thanks for making your brief introduction and thanking your mom. Thank you, Ninka. I know the internet can have a little delay and a little choppiness. The Reverend Dr. Terrence Z. Godson. My brother, introduce yourself to the world, to Dominica, to Chi-Town, to Buffalo, New York.
Grace and peace. Can you hear me, everyone?
Well, I hear you nicely, brother.
Yeah, well, my name is Reverend Dr. Terrence Gazin. I serve as the campus pastor and athletic chaplain at North Park University in Chicago. And good to be with you and good to be with the community at large. Word up.
Well, thank you. And the brother is a DJ, man. You should hear this brother throw down, man. He gives a rap its due course on the stage, in chapel. Brother has some great sermons that he delivers. Very good speaker, very good thinker, young, energetic brother, man. He's gonna help us tonight navigate our way around this question when we engage in a journey, a calling we believe from the Holy Spirit, from our ancestors, to do something that may continue to exist beyond when we are here. We will not necessarily see its fullest effect while we are still alive. How do we posture ourselves if we are to arrive to greatness, if we are to achieve things that are worth pursuing? How should we posture ourselves? What types of virtues that we should carry? How should we work with each other? And I want to thank the Reverend Dr. Godson for introducing me and introducing us at North Park to Pastor Demetrius Davis. And I have been twice to the City Point Community Church, and I have not had an experience with a church that has been so fulfilling that I have returned, that many times in short period of time. And I saw the energy that Pastor Davis brought when he came to give a presentation about Dr. King, that I thought I had to have him join us, and he joined us last week on Kyrie FM. Where he told us that if we are to posture ourselves to accomplish things that are beyond our own self, our own life, that is going to have things that will have a long shelf life, that three things were very important. We need to move in certain ways, in three primary ways, he said. And he said, first, we must move with unity. It's very important that we move with unity. And because our time that we have around, that we have alive, and the time we have to do what we have to do is really shorter than the lifespan of whatever the vision is, we need to move with urgency. We cannot dilly-dally around. We have to move with urgency. And he said, lastly, we need to move with authority. Tonight, if the opportunity arises, we may talk a little bit about what authority is, and authority is different than power. Because power is the ability to get things to move regardless of its resistance. Authority is power that is used with the submission of others through the authorization of the use of power towards the movement. So I'm a university professor. I taught last semester a class in methods in social science research, and students come to my class and they give me the authority to assign them a grade at every assignment. If Terrence came to my class and tried to give my students a grade, it's probably not going to go down. And he's also a professor. If I went to his class and tried to give his students a grade, unless there were circumstances where I, as a dean, could do that, I don't have the authority to do that, because the students didn't enter the first day of class and take a class with somebody else giving them a grade. But Terrence would have the authority in his class from the students to exercise power. So whether or not they believe they earn an F or they earn a B or A minus or something, an A minus or the like, because they have submitted and to his judgment, they have given him authority. So he said to move with authority, and he said one of the best authorities to move on is the authorities of a higher power, the authorities of the scripture, the authority of God. Sometimes you move in the authority of your job that somebody sent you, but you move with authority. And if you have to move with authority, that is, you do not need to really apologize, really, because, for example, if you have the authority to help someone who fell on the street, and the person raised their hand so you can help them and pull them up, you don't have to be shy about it, because if you offer help and they ask you to pull it up, you have the authority to pull some strength and to help them off the ground. So these are the things that we started to talk about. Why these conversations are important. These conversations are important, folks, because we have arrived in a new era. We have arrived in an era where around the world, the violence, the chaos, the destruction that we see, and in our own small island, in our own city of Chicago, in Buffalo, New York, and other areas, we see human beings, even at the days of heightened technology, days of years of AI, where knowledge is almost any kind of thing you want to find out, you can find it. It's almost unable to hide. The extent to which people are able to live with great quality of life, to live with lives that they feel fear, they do not feel fear of falling victim in ways that are unjust. We need to have a world where we see less violence and more peace, and people can rise to better occasions. And after 30 years of research of Peaceology, the summation of my research has led me to believe that low stress and high joy are active ingredients to chart our way forward, to have a more peaceful world, to have a better quality world. And we have the Peaceology World Movement. Peaceology State is one of the platforms for which we share that information with you. And we have the other radio show, and we have other efforts that we made. So this is just by way of brief introduction, the part of how we proceed tonight. We're about to take another musical break. We are featuring the work of Ayub Moransi. Lambi is about to give us a surprise of a song from Ayub Moransi, who's residing in St. Kitts, but from Dominica. We have, we will go around to other artists, but there's some artists that we are, a couple now, Rasmo and Ayub mostly, that we've been playing for a little bit. We'll extend to some more as we go along. We feature one artist per show. So we're going to take a little bit of a musical break. And when we come back, when we come back, Linka, you're going to tell us a little bit before Reverend Dr. Terrence Godston. I know, Nika, you're doing some work. You have been building up your life. You are part of the population that we are working with to help build their lives. And one of the things we want to know, to the extent that you can tell us about the new job you have and how you're building your life, and you are someone who have changed your mentality and changing your ways. We wanted to know, how has life been for you recently, and what do you have to say? We want to hear a little bit about that. We're going to let you think about that, Ninka, but first we're going to take a break. And when we come back from the break after the song, Ninka, you're going to tell us about that. And Pastor and Reverend Doctor, what we're going to ask you. You had such a great sermon on Wednesday that I want you to give us a mini version of it from the whole way that you set it up. And it's very important to the topic today. How should we posture ourselves to continue a mission that is bigger than ourselves and may outlast us? So, Lambi, let's get a surprise. Let's hear what we hear from Ayub Moransi here while we take a little break before we come back and hear from Ninka and Reverend Dr. Terrence Godston. Anything we get from Ayub.
My head and look towards the sky, asking the Father why. Should man go on living like he's a beast? Will there ever be world peace? Man believed he could bring peace on earth, but without your chosen son. So I chant out the name of love. The world need peace, the world need justice. Father, send down your son on earth. Send down your peace, send down your justice. Father, come down and reign on earth. Man try make laws, but they are filled with flaws. Confusion reign for sure. We reject the Father's special plan. The whole world must rebel. Children confused about their role model, so they alternate rebel. Why I chant out your name in song? The only peace, the only justice. Father, stand on your son and earth. Stand on your feet. Stand on your toes. Father, come down and rain on earth. The poor man child always locked up in jail, and the rich man child on bail. And the poor is always encarnified, while the rich man child unite. Man ignore the cry for more justice, yet he wants the world of peace. So I chant out again in song. The only peace, the only justice. Father, send on your son on earth. Send on your peace, send on your justice. Father, come down and rain on earth.
Yes, send down your peace, send down your rain, send down your blessings, Father. You were listening to the song of Ayub Peter Moranci from Trafalgar. Again, we'll feature some more local artists. Um, there's some nice calypsos out there. Probably, think of some of those that align with the theme of our show. And we also, for those of you who are listening, maybe in the next 20 minutes or so, we'll give an opportunity for a business shout out. I'm a member of the DHTA, Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association, and I asked some of the members if they want to give a shout out to the business or to another business that exemplifies Peaceology, that they give customer service with low stress and high joy. They live lives or they have products that are conducive to low stress and high joy. Please call in, get ready to call in and give a shout out to that business that gives good customer service. And it doesn't even have to be in Dominica, wherever you are in the world that you're listening. If there's a business you see that does good customer service or have good products that are in alignment with Peaceology, aligning with creating a world of less stress and more joy, low stress and high joy, we'll give you an opportunity to call in with that. Lambi, I should know by now what the numbers are, 448 something or the other, but I'm going to ask you to say it the first time so I can write it and I can repeat it then again. Please remind our callers of what the phone number is to call us in live. Go ahead, Lambi.
The numbers are as follow: 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. Those are all local numbers. The international or the overseas number is 305-432-9624. Let me run those one more time. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, 305-432-9624. Back to you, Doc.
Thank you so much, Alambi. And people also know that we are live on Facebook, on the studio, the Q95 FM, YSQ95 FM Dominica. We are live on the Facebook. So if you know anybody who has access to Facebook and you want to watch the show there. And actually, being part, this is also a podcast, and we will be posting the rebroadcast of the show on our website, peacefulworld.com. We will still be setting up the repository there for it, but we have. But if you want to know the link to go back to some of those shows, you can see them on the website, or you can also reach out to me for access to that. But soon we'll be posting the podcast there on our website. So as we said, Ninka, we're gonna start with you. We're gonna ask you, give us a little, a little summary of how life has been like for you as you build your life of low stress and high joy.
Things getting better and better day by day because I have a job now. I have a steady salary. I can do things I couldn't do, Jack.
Yeah, tell us. So, like, you want to tell us some of the work you do, and tell us anything around that and what it feels
Oh, but
like to have employment? Yes.
well, some things I do is electrical, plumbing, like painting, I do pour wash it. Which one are available for me at the time? But Jack,
So, Ninka, what do people need to understand about when someone doesn't have work, you're not gainfully employed, where you can have a check in your hand to do things, and when people have the experience like you have had experience on the street, or the street could be an option, what difference does a job really make?
well, it will keep you away from bad things. Like let's say, like if you see you don't have a job, it will push you to go and do drugs, to bring in the bad life, to send you in the bad life. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Now, does a job only relate to making money and paying bills, or is there something that a job also helps to give you to build a character of who you are, or is the value of a job just something to do to make money?
Uh, a job, when you have a job, is like you independent, making you feel independent. Okay?
Mm.
Like you don't have to depend on nobody. You can do your own thing. Okay?
And then so you feel more dependent on somebody else. So if somebody has the experience of selling
When
drugs,
you don't have
or
a job.
those doing those things, and they are employed, and somebody comes up to them and tries to give them an opportunity to move drugs or to do the kinds of other illegal things that they do when they don't have a job, do you think that it is easy to keep your job and say no thanks to that other type of way of making money, or do you think it is equally valuable for somebody to try to both have a legal job and an illegal job? What are your thoughts? Ninka, are you there? Well, I don't know if
I don't
she's
really
there.
get you properly, but anyways, you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. So,
You
yes, I'm
hear me?
asking. Yes, I can hear you okay. And if you have a problem hearing me, we can come back to you a little bit later and then go on. So, did you hear the question or no?
You
No.
can
Okay.
repeat again. Repeat yourself again.
I ask you if you have a job, and
What?
somebody comes to you with an option. You have a legal job now, and somebody comes to you with an option to be involved in an illegal job like selling drugs. Will you tell them no, or you would try to have your legal job and the illegal job at the same time? That's what I was asking you.
But if it's possible, well, yeah, because it's money we're looking to make, It's not to just look good and look to say have a job, We're looking to make the money to see how we can come out in poverty, to see how we can build a house, how we can, help our family. So if I selling drugs gonna make me make more money, well, I don't mind it.
Even if you have a legal job, you would still sell drugs and
If
risk losing the legal job?
having a legal job don't mean you're making plenty money, You're making enough money. Sometimes you have a legal job and all you're doing is just paying bills. You're just working to pay bills and to pay to eat, to buy groceries and them things them. Is that you're working for? You can't save, you can't build house, you can't buy ride, you can't buy nothing. I'm gonna buy you can buy. You check? Legal job don't mean like as though it's a good thing, like it's a good thing, like you're making so much money. And you check, that doesn't show people you're working and you're a good person, but I don't see nothing in that. I don't see money making for you to make a profit to do something with it. You check? You must do something on this side to make a money, to make a serious money.
So the thing you do on the side, does it have to be legal to make serious money, or there are legal ways you can do things and be patient and make side money, or it must be that you have to do something illegal on the side to make more money?
It don't must be illegal, but now the illegal way is the faster way.
The illegal way is help me to understand. How is the illegal way the faster way? Help me to understand that.
Well, let's say, like, you have to stay how much hours in a day to work to make a little bit of money. In 1 hour, you can make how much money the legal way.
And now what? Now what? You made all that money. Now what?
Wow.
Is it worth it?
What? Do how much you wanted to do all your life now? Build a house. It can build a house for your mother, build a house for your mother, build a house for your grandmother, do things, yeah, the money. You don't just make the money for making the money sick. Now you make it for a reason.
All right. Well, thanks, Linka, for sharing your point of view. That's why we have you on the show, to help with different points of view. You're talking the reality from the life, the life you live. On our show is not a wrong or right answer. It's a matter of discussion. And thank you for expressing the way you think. Maybe some callers will call later on and let us know if they agree with what you're saying, if they think otherwise, or what type of advice they have for you, or what advice you have given to them. But it's nice that you are able to give us your point of view. Part of what we would try to do is to be able to have the kinds of conversations that allow us to learn from different points of view. So, Linka, thanks. I want you to listen to when Reverend Dr. Dotson is going to talk to us about some of those things. Pastor, you can do this however you want to do, because I know, and maybe I told you to do kind of a mini lecture, and you started off, or at least you started off well. The part I remember you started with that stood out to me is that when you say we all, there is salvation out there, and salvation is not something you kind of worked to get, or something you can brag about that you got from Walmart or whatever. And if it's not something that you kind of had yourself, or you work hard to give, what should you do with it? And if we are to live a life, we're saying, that is low stress, high joy, that is good prosperity, a type of life that we can encourage our children to follow us with, and so on. What ways should we posture ourselves? You heard Ninka gave her point of view. Ninka, I do not want to tell her life story, but Linka is a person that is no stranger to the streets. She has had difficult moments in life when she has had to live the street life. You in Chicago, you know what that means. And she's a young woman who's sharing a point of view with that regard. Some of what you say may shed light to what she said or not. So I'm going to be silent now and allow you to let the Holy Spirit lead you to share with us whatever you want to share with us for some time. We probably, because of the interest of time, we try not to go too much, more than 10 minutes or 7 to 10 minutes of a monologue, because we want to break it up. So you can give us a first bite to 5 minutes or so. Let's get the word.
Yeah. Well, once again, man, thank you, Doctor, for having me. Appreciate you, and also I just appreciate your support always. At North Park University. I grew up in a small suburb of New Jersey, and went to college in East Tennessee. And my parents are from the Carolinas, and South and North Carolina. And I think growing up, my grandparents. I'm one of 36 grandchildren, and a lot of who I am today is because of my grandparents and my ancestors that have gone before me. And so I always acknowledge them and acknowledge that I have gotten to where I am because of them, because of the prayers and the teachings. And I, for those who don't know me, my background is biblical studies. I kind of identify myself as an unorthodox hip hop preacher. And from a young age, I've always looked at the scriptures and looking at how I could translate those scriptures to communicate to my generation and a generation that's coming behind me. And so, but I think one of the things that I've often realized is that in this life, you cannot do it alone. You cannot do it alone. I'm a former runner as well, ran cross country and track collegiately, and I look at life as we're on a team. There's people who've come before me, and who are coming after me, and it's a marathon. And if you think about runners preparing for a marathon, you're not winning the race in the first 5 minutes. It takes a long time. But before you run that race, there's a lot of preparation that has to take place before that race. And I come from the tutelage of the Black church, where our strength comes from the Lord, and how God has given us gifts, and so who I am today is for those who come before me, who share their gifts of love, grace, and kindness to me. And so I think, but I think it's important to acknowledge also that this life, this world, it's heavy. It is heavy, and I think to not acknowledge that would be to look at the world improperly. So I think we have to first understand that we can't do this life alone, and I think it takes a team, it takes a community to cheer us on, to help us to get to where we need to be. When I was in high school years ago, my coach, Coach Richard Luton, he told us that we could win a state championship in track and field. And I was a senior in high school, and he told us every day that we can do it. And the problem was we only had 15 people on our team. And the average team in the state of South Carolina at the time where I was living had 30 to 35 people on their roster. But eventually we were able to win a state championship. And the things that we were able to, the reason why we were able to do that is because we came together as a team. We put away our egos, our pride. We were unified. We had one goal, one vision to win a state championship. And he believed in us, and he helped us to understand that. And we were successful. But I asked this question, when he told us, can we really do it? Can we really do this task? But he believed in me. He believed in us, and he helped us. He gave us the tools to do that. And I look at it in the same way in the biblical text. There's a writer named the Apostle Paul, who wrote 13 letters in the New Testament. Out of 27 books of the New Testament, he wrote 13 of them. And one of those books was Ephesians. And in Ephesians, he basically he coaches us on how we should live this life. And he lets us know in the first half that God has given us gifts. God loves us. And when we're touched by God, we should share that same love with other people we encounter. And the Apostle Paul, he shares this information with these people in Ephesus, the Ephesian people, and he tells them that continue to live the way you live, and be. He says three things really out top in chapter 4. He says be humble, be gentle, and be patient. And he tells them that to really have humility, live with humility, live selfless. Humble yourself, be patient with others, know that you don't got it all together, you don't have all the answers. We come together as a collective, as a community, we can make it. And then he says also be gentle with each other, be gentle, be patient, be humble. And he encourages that to live a life worthy of your calling, and that worthy of your calling goes back to back in the first half of the book of Ephesians, where he's saying that God has given you a gift, and that gift is salvation, is love, is grace, that no person can buy it, no person can purchase it. It's not because of your social economic status, your race, how beautiful you are, the knowledge you have, but it's a gift that God has given you, and as God has given you that gift, share it with other people, live in that same way, and that's the coaching that the Apostle Paul has given us. That's how I live, knowing that there's going to be trials and tribulations, hardships, and we're going to have tough moments, but we have to acknowledge those tough moments. And I believe it's relying on the power of God, but also the community to help us where we need encouragement, where we need correction, where we need some insight and some wisdom. There's an old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. And I really believe in that. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So community is really big. I think community helps us, particularly in the difficulties of life. And so that's some of the things that I've gained. And I think that's how I live. And I see the encouragement from the saints, not only from Paul's time, but also even ancestors in this time. And so I think those are some of the things that I live by, Doc, and I just try to continue to realize that this is a marathon, and that God has given us every gift that we need to succeed, to make it. But we're only going to accomplish that if we come together. And if we don't, like Karis once said back in the day, we're going self-destruction. We headed for self-destruction if we can't come together and unify and understand that we need each other to survive. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, Reverend Doctor, and you did such a good job in basically summarizing, that which you took much more time to tell us. I decided to ask you to bless us with this wisdom, because as we build this Peaceology World movement, and as we have entered the 30th anniversary, the 30th year of doing research, searching people's hearts and minds about experiences they have with police, they have with themselves, their family, their community, as we have lived over those 30 years and seen how society has changed and how things have gotten better and as things have gotten worse. And as we take on this new chapter of realizing that maybe we were there for the last 30 years to lead this effort, to lead this movement, we may or may not be there for the next 30 years. And if we are there, I don't know if we want to be doing all of that for the next 30 years. And if we're there for that next 30 years, certainly don't think we're going to be there for the 30 years after that. So how do we posture ourselves with a recognition that what we have started is going to outlive us? And when Willie Fravier joins us later on at the second half of the show, he will talk about some people who have since passed. Charles Gregoire, who was the chair of the Grand Bay Village Council at the time. Pierre Charles, a former prime minister who was working with us on the ground in Grand Bay. We had Antoine Defoe, who was a inspector at the time. Coffee Williams, all of those have gone on to meet their creator. We have a former police chief who is still, who's still alive and healthy, but who has since retired. Daniel Carbon, that was working with us in Grand Bay. I can think of my colleagues from the Roseau Valley, Jeff Rowe, Clement Peter Luis, and many, many others have retired. They're still around. And when we say that we may say, we ask the question why we're still alive, but it doesn't just mean not dead. Alive could also mean in your role. Like right now, you're alive in your role as the pastor at North Park University. But you may not be alive in that role for some time later on. Eventually, somebody else will be alive in that role. When we talk about being alive, we're not necessarily talking about being dead, but just that we may not be in the driver's seat. So if we are taking on a mission that is bigger than ourselves, we really want to be able to posture ourselves in ways that can last. Scriptures tell us about faith, hope, and love, and above all things, if there's anything else that goes, the last thing that's going to be standing is love. Right?
Yeah.
So are we going to anchor ourselves in love? Because this journey is a long journey. So part of Pastor, I really want to thank you, and I want to say that what you have said and what Pastor Davis has said, and what others who have joined us on the show and people I meet in the field have said, and what I've learned have helped me as the designer of the founder of Peaceology to think about some core pillars that is going to help this movement, because this is not a multi-million-dollar movement or a multi-billion-dollar movement. I believe it's an infinity-dollar movement. I think that the world is at a point where the core belief of Peaceology is that when we combine low stress and high joy, we realize the least problems and the most promise. When we combine low stress and high joy, we create atmospheres where we are faced with the least problems and the most promise. What I mean by promise is that the probability or the chances that life and things can get better. And when we form an organization, we need to have a charter and we need to have organizing principles that's going to allow those things to occur. Let the vision, let the mission, the idea of seeing a world where as many people as possible with vision are really living lives of low stress and high joy, or at least are embracing the belief that if they combine low stress and high joy, they will face the least problems and the most positive outcomes. So how do we move ahead with that? And I just want to say that there are 11 virtues. There are 11 things that are on the list. Sometimes 3 things are good, 1 thing could be good, but there are core values, core virtues, and rules of engagement. And we will soon be putting this on our website at peaceologyworld.com. But Pastor, I just want to go through the list, and part of what you will hear in this list, with all credit due to you, are the 3 that you have passed on to us from Paul in that regard. So a value, I teach in sociology, and we teach in sociology, that a value is something for which there is importance. You know, you may have a watch, you may have the key. A lot of us, or cell phone, if we don't have our cell phones, we're lost. There's a lot of value in our cell phone. So when you form an organization, they ask you, what are your core values? A core is the center of. So what values are in the center of your existence? This is what core values are. There are some practices that core values can be 3 or 5. There's no magic in the number, but there's a logic in the flow. For Peaceology, we have identified 11 core values that drive the virtues that we ask people to develop individually, and the rules of engagement of how people engage with each other to advance this movement. So number 1, we have humility. No, you have said that, and maybe eventually we'll put them in alphabetical order and sort the words, so in alphabetical order and so on, but I just have it as I've written it. Number 1, we have humility, and you have explained what that is, that we have salvation, we have Jesus Christ who died on the cross for us, we have people who made sacrifices. Some of us were born and we live in a home because our parents were able to, somebody maybe had life insurance, or maybe somebody passed on something to us, or we just happened to be born in a community or with a last name where we can get a hookup. A lot of the things we have that are going to push us forward, we didn't give them to ourselves. We call these things in science, in social science, we call these things ascriptions. Those things were ascribed to you. You are a champion winning runner. You have the body that's built like a runner. You have the height that's built as a runner, Reverend Doctor. And some people do not have those genetic gifts. You didn't do anything to give that physical body to yourself. So if you're able to outrun somebody, you should be humble. Even if you put some work to become a stronger runner, but the very nature of the parents you were born into, the race that you have, all of that, some of those things you didn't give to yourself. So you have to come with humility because you didn't give it all to yourself. Even if you did, you didn't want to be bragging. You don't want to be bragging. Faithfulness. And when we talk about unity, we have like a drop down of gentleness and patience come with unity, right? But the second one is faithfulness. Is it First Corinthians? Talk about faith, hope, and love. Is that the one? Is that one of the Corinthians? Is that First or Second Corinthians? One of them. Pastor, you know better than me.
I think it's second, but yeah, I'm double check.
Right. Somebody tell us. Aninka, you are expert in the Bible. Maybe you can tell us. But what I know is I think it's Second Corinthians. That talks about faith, hope, and love. So faithfulness is a value. Faith is a belief in the things that have not yet been seen. The hopefulness is the idea that the things that have not yet been accomplished can be accomplished. Love, right? In Peaceology, we say that peace is the maximum presence of the desirable with the minimum presence of the undesirable. In simple language, having most of what you want while having the least of what you don't want. Love is the idea, the thought, the feeling, and the action intended to give the best positive outcomes to someone with the least negative returns, right? So if I love you, the way I think about you, the way I talk about you, the way I feel about you, will want me to not cause you harm and to bring you the most good. That's how we define it in Peaceology. Ethics are important. Ethics are about decision making. They may be right or wrong, but there's a process of which you make a decision. You don't just make a decision. And there are values associated with that. One day I will do a lecture. I will probably do a mini lecture on each one of those in our podcast. Empathy is being able to put yourself in somebody else's situation, whereas sympathy is to just feel sorry for people. Can you put yourself in somebody else's situation, in their position, and see and understand from their point of view? Generosity is to give. You say that the Lord loves a cheerful giver, right? And if you have something, and you can give as much as you can to those who deserve, right? But to be generous, to be benevolent. And the next three, actually 7, 8, 9, and 10, are directly from Pastor Davis, Demetrius Davis. I told him, a value is unity, working together. As you said, we were not designed to live this life by ourselves. Urgency, because one day we will die. And maybe we will go to 70. Maybe we will live longer, but one day we will die. So every day we live is one day less we have to live. So we have to deal with things with certain levels of urgency. Willie Favre, I just saw that you showed up here. Thank you for joining us. I will have you introduce yourself a little bit, but it's good to see you. And Willie, can you mute your mic meanwhile until it's time you talk, because we have a little noise. Willie, can you mute your mic? Yeah, if you can mute the mic, that'd be great. If there's somebody in the background of a radio, tell them to turn down the volume because we have feedback. That'd be great. So we said unity is important, urgency is important, and we already spoke about authority. That when you do something, you need to have the permission of others to do it. Give permission to yourself, and the permission of God, the permission of the government, the permission of whomever who has power over this particular thing. Courage. is important. Courage is to be able to have the tenacity to do the things that are challenging. A lot of the things we're going to do on this journey of Peaceology world, of creating a world of low stress and high joy, is going to require courage. And that is the 11th thing that was on the list. And when we talk about the virtues, a virtue is something that we embedded in ourselves. Since humility is important as a core value, we say to be humble. Since faithfulness is important, we say to be faithful. Since hopefulness is important, we say to be hopeful. Since love is important, we say to be loving. Since ethics are important, we say to be ethical. Since empathy is important, we say to be empathetic. Since generosity is important, we say to be generous. Since unity is important, we say to be united. Since urgency is important, we say to be urgent. Since authority is important, we say to be authoritative, right? To be active with authority. Since courage is important, we say to be courageous. And in the same way, when we talk about rules of engagement, because humility is important, we say to actually move with humility. And because faithfulness is important, we say to move with faith. Because hopefulness is important, we say to move with hope. When we do these things, to move with hope. Because love is important, we say to move with love. Because ethics is important, we say ethics are important, we say to move with ethics. Because empathy is important, we say to move with empathy. Because generosity is important, we say to move with generosity. Because unity is important, we say to move with unity. Because urgency is important, we say to move with urgency. Because authority is important, we say to move with authority. And because courage is important, we say to move with courage. We will have these things on our website, but the core values are the things that we hold as important. The virtues are things we're saying that we need to develop into our own selves, into our family, into our community as the nature of who we are, kind of as that noun. And because unity is important, we're not going to do this work by ourselves. We have to have rules for engagement of how we link with other people, how we do movement. And those core values feed right into who we develop ourselves to be individually or in family or community. And then the rules of engagement talks about how we act in concert with others. So I just wanted to share that, and Reverend Doctor, I wanted to thank you for giving us a contribution. Can you believe? Time flies when you're having fun. Willie Favorius has joined us. He said he was going to join us at the top of the hour. You know, it's there at 9 o'clock in Dominica, it's 7 o'clock in Chicago. And if when Pastor Joyce can join us, he is, I say, the clock over with him. Willie, good night. Bonsoir, Willie. Good night. Thank you for joining us. You can open up your mic and introduce yourself to the rest of the world. You can see the rest of us that are online. You're live on the airwaves of the big station, Q95. And I know in a moment you will unmute your microphone and be able to introduce yourself, who you are. And Willie, when you join us, after you introduce yourself, I know Reverend Dr. Gadsden and some of the others may not be aware, and I'm not asking you to give the whole history of the last 30 years, but I know 30 years ago, 31 years ago when Hillary and Barron was killed, I think on the 26th of November of 1996, you were the chairman of the Grand Bay Village Council, and you were challenged to be able to do something to help to have a safer Grand Bay. And Willie, I know you're still working on the mic. We'll try to unmute it because it's still muted. But as soon as you're able to speak with us, I know somebody's there to help you out. If someone in the house is listening to the radio, help us to unmute the mic so we can hear from Willie. And Willie, I want you to just tell us a little bit back, for as much as you can recall or you can share, what bring us back to 30 years ago after Hillary and Byron were shot, and what the challenge of the Village Council in Grand Bay was to help create a safer Grand Bay, right? So whenever you're unmuted, there's a button on the screen down, Willie, You should just be able to press it and release this. There we go. There we go. Oh, you had it. You almost had it. So we're almost there. And then in the studio, as we're listening to you there, as we're listening, and I want to tell you, Lambi, to get ready. Whatever song you think about Ayub Moransi. There's a caller. Is there a caller? All right, there's a caller. Let's take a caller. Willie, try it still, but here's a caller. Caller, thank you so much for calling Q95. No, the caller dropped. All right, so sorry, we lost the caller. So we will hear from Willie as soon as he's able to join us there. But Lambi, can you remind our callers again of the phone numbers to call us online? Go ahead, Lambi.
The numbers are as follow: 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. Those are local numbers. The international or overseas number is 305-432-9624. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, 305-432-9624. Back to you, Doc.
Thank you so much, Willie. Somebody, you can you had it just now, Willie. If you got somehow you were able to get it a little bit earlier on. There we go. There it is. Oh, you tried it. You're almost there. Willie. There we go.
Hello.
There we go. Now we're good, Willie. Now we're happy.
Is anybody hearing me?
Yes, I hear you very well now. So you can just go
I have unmuted my mic.
Yes, you can just go ahead and speak straight. We understand. Go ahead.
But I can't hear anybody.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. We're hearing you loud and clear.
I was tuned to the radio when I could hear everything, but now I can't hear. I can't hear you, Dr.
Just go ahead and speak. We can hear you. Just go ahead and speak.
But my mic is unmuted.
So go ahead and speak, Willie. Go ahead and say whatever. Introduce yourself.
Hello?
Yeah, just introduce yourself. If there's somebody else in the house with him that's listening to the radio,
What does that mean?
He's having some problems. That's what happens in life. Willie, you can go right ahead and speak. Tell us about who you are. No? He's just He said when he mutes the mic.
If you can't hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. You go ahead. I can hear you. So introduce yourself. Go ahead, Willie. I hear you. Go ahead. Tell us who you are, no?
Or do I have to log in? I see a login thing there.
No. Well, no, you are live, but he can't hear us, so I guess he got cut out. Okay. Well, we're trying. This is what happens with live radio, folks. Forgive us for that. Lambi, let's take a break. Let's get another song from Ayub Moransi, and when we come back, we will process some of this information. It seems that we have lost Dr. Gatsa as well. And Ninka is still there with us. Ninka, I want you to think about what are your thoughts about the things that you've heard so far. We're going to take a quick break and get another song from Ayub Moransi right from the studios of Q95 FM, the big station. Go ahead, Lambi, whenever you're ready. Yes, this is good. It's February 9th, 2026. Peaceology State. Lambi, whenever you're ready, we'll go ahead and get the song queued up. One more. There you go.
We don't need no one now. What we need is peace and love. You see parents dying, children crying, daddy got to war, he preaches no more. The leaders stopping, but doing nothing. All the young men, they sent to slaughter. Checking Israel, checking Lebanon. Children abandoned because of war and then war. We don't need no one now. What we need is peace and love. What we need is love. What we need is peace. We don't need no war. We can't take no more. We need peace, love, and harmony. We need peace, love for enemy. We need peace, love, and harmony. We need peace, love, trust, not enmity. You see soldiers dying, your loved ones crying, parents angry, it's pure tragedy. Yet leaders spending and still believing that one day will come for their victory. Check Afghanistan, check Pakistan, children abandoned all because of war. I say war, war. We talking about war now. War, war. What we need is peace and love. What we need is love. What we
Okay, it sounds like we have a caller. Caller, go right ahead. Willie, we see you here. Caller, go right ahead. Thank you for calling Peaceology State.
Hi, good night, Dr. Caesar.
Yes, sir.
Good night to Lambi and the other panelists on the program.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, I know you say the pastor from the state have fell off the radar. But Dr. Caesar, I want to leave a few comments so that you could take it on to him.
Sure.
And I appreciate your whole presentation you have bring tonight because you talk about charity, giving,
right,
and looking out for each other. They have done some research that, like the nurses and the teachers, the people that look about people, the nurse and teachers, they live longer, they have a bigger brain, and their heart work better because they deal with different people at the same time, like a teacher in a classroom. So I really appreciate your presentation. But Dr. Caesar, one of the things I said I want to tell the pastor in the States, I really appreciate their courage, the courage they are standing up for Black people still in the United States, and I want to thank him for that.
Yes.
And I would like to see a Martin Luther King Day in the Caribbean. It can be on a weekend because most times his day falls in a week. But in the Caribbean, I would like to see a movement. And I would want to see, like in Dominica, people like you and the religious leaders that look out for the people, like the young lady you have there, like Feed My Sheep and Open Arms, and the different business people, the government, the prime minister needs people like these around him in these times. And my last question, I would like to tell the pastor in the States, what is the movement to the Caribbean they can do for a protest for the injustice that happening even to the Caribbean islands? For instance, Trinidad, you see a lot of people dying, like in Boston or somewhere, people just murdering people, ISIS. What is the movement they can put together for the Caribbean to have a protest to stand up for the injustice? Because you have a lot of young people that want to go and study in the States and, it's taken away from them. So I want to see a joint venture like what you're doing there with the pastors, like the work of Martin Luther King that was carried on. So I wanted to fall down in the Caribbean. But these people like you and the Dominican Prime Minister, he needs to get a body of people like you and the pastors and the businessmen, like Mr. Sam Raphael, to sit with him, and he must listen to them. I think that's going to make a big change. Have a good night.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother, for calling us here on the big station, and I will certainly let Reverend Dr. Gaston know that. And brother, just to let you know, on one of those days, in fact, I will ask Mr. Jackson, who actually trained me because I'm one of the certified trainers that uses Martin Luther King approaches that really look towards peace and reconciliation and so on. And Phil Jackson, it was my trainer. I want to bring Phil Jackson on to kind of do a short master class on how the legacy and the history of how the black churches, mostly the Methodist and Baptist churches, have organized to help do the necessary type of civil action in the best interest of everyone, but especially that directly affect people, black folks in America. And what I hear you say is you'd like to see some of that be of value to us on the ground in the Caribbean. I will say, brother, that we are doing this show all year. God, God bless. It allows us to. And if you want, I'm typically, actually, I am usually in Dominica close to Martin Luther King Day. And I usually, well, no, Martin Luther, it begins the week before, but I probably will not have a problem to fly back to Dominica on the Martin Luther King Day, or even to participate remotely if you want to do so. If you want us to do something from a kind of an MLK recognition and open up our place at Peaceology Acres, is so open to people like you and others who want to have the good work of Dr. King be realized more in our Caribbean region. I'll be happy to talk about that further. Hopefully, you know how to reach me, or you can reach the station. But thank you for that, and I will let our pastor know that as well. But there are different ways, that different approaches. There actually is a science about how the African American movements, the liberation movements, but also the civil rights movement, when they first negotiate, they agitate, and then they demonstrate. They do not just show up and demonstrate. So there's a process to this. There's some of us who train each other for that. There's also Benny Lee, who's in Chicago, that I'll try to actually maybe bring Benny Lee to our show to help to understand how some of that organizing is done. So thanks a lot. Willie Fevrier, I see that you are back. I hope you can hear me. I want you to introduce yourself to our Dominica, to our world. Thank you so much.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go right ahead. I hear you loud and clear. Introduce yourself, please.
Okay. I am Willie Fevrier, a former teacher in Grand Bay, and I did a 7-year stint in Bermuda as well. I taught at the primary level and at the secondary level for a while. I taught at the grammar school for 1 year. And well, half of my working life actually was teaching, but the other half was working as the manager of the Dominica Planned Parenthood Association. But with regard to my community, yes, I was a member of the village council when Mr. Charles Gregoire was the chairman, and we had Mr. Pato Blaise was on the council. Mm-hmm. I think the Honorable Prime Minister was, he had been on the council, but at the time when you were doing the research, I think he was already Prime Minister, but I don't recall exactly. He became Prime Minister in 2004. Sorry, he became Prime Minister in 2000. So yes, your research was done when he was not in government yet, but he was the rep. Yes. The parliamentary representative, yes, of the community. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So I recall when you started this research. Yes.
Can you imagine it? 30 years have gone.
Well, actually, you got to know about us through was it through our newsletter?
Yes, that's all. Yes,
Peter.
Yes. Yes.
How did you get to know about what we were trying to do?
Yes, it was through your newsletter.
You recall?
Yes, it was through your newsletter.
No, you can't hear me?
No, I'm saying maybe, I don't know if you can. Yes, it was through your newsletter.
I can't hear you through my phone, I don't know why. I could only hear you through the radio.
Oh, and there's probably a delay. Well, I don't know if you're hearing, but yes, it was through a newsletter that I found out about you. But Willie, what I wanted you to do, if you hear my question, and if it's a delay on the radio, Tell us a bit about what happened after Hillary and Barron died in Grand Bay. There were contestation as to whether the bullet that killed him was from the police or from the community. Tell us what happened during the death of Hillary and Barron in terms of how the village council responded, because that is what I responded to.
Okay, right. So when this thing happened, I mean, we had experienced a spate of violent incidents on the so-called block, you know, where Hillary was gone down, and this is something that was going on for quite a while. So at the village council, we decided we need to call a community meeting to discuss the state of violence in the community. We had a pretty good gathering, and people expressed their views. We were assisted by Reverend Father Moody, the Catholic priest at the time, and he suggested that we put together a few committees, and so we did. And one of these committees was a police community relations committee, because we felt that many other people expressed the view that, you know, the police were not very effective, and the way they operated, you know, it's like the police were like an enemy of the people, sort of. And so we had this committee set up. I was given the chairmanship of that particular committee, and the priest, Father Jerome Moody, and the police officer at the time, Sergeant Carbon, and Mr. Shillip, we called him CO Defoe. We used to meet at least once a month. We used to meet to discuss what's going on and what strategies we should use. We had some community meetings in different sections of the community, and that's where I believe that is how you got to know about us. But and you wrote to me or something like that.
Right.
I responded and said, you said you wanted to do some research. Right. And I said, no, you're welcome to do so. One of the elements that was very important in your research was, and in the whole question of peace and so forth, was that there was a youth group, the Youth Against Drugs and Violence, YADAV.
YADAV, right. Mm-hmm.
And even the name itself tells you what their goals were, what their aim was. Youth Against Drugs and Violence. And I believe they assisted you in your research. I think they went around doing the collection of the data, and from the data, you developed the program for Granby, safety community program, sort of. So that's where it all started, and then you wrote the book, Lessons from Granby. Well, up to now, I mean, we now have a police community relations chat group. So we still retain that connection with the police, and we make suggestions. They make suggestions when there's certain things happening, because I believe the present chief of police is very keen on community policing. So, you know, Granby, and this community policing idea basically started in Granby, and often on.
You there, Willie? Are you still there? I don't. I'm not hearing. Lambi, can
Yes,
you?
I'm there.
Okay, okay. You say off and on something, and then I heard. Okay. Yes. Well, Willie, that was a very good synopsis of this, and it is good for us to go back and relive some of that. I actually spoke with with Jeff I. You remember Jeff I on the block? I told Jeff I thanked
Yes.
him. Hopefully someday he can join us. He may or may not be able to, but I told him that I was going to mention and thanking him. Fellas like Robert, we had La Chichi, as we say, Hilarion. We had Hilarion Henry, Matt Child. We have a bunch of different guys, Paro and those guys. And I remember Mr. Willie is I remember Pupa and Liat. Are Pupa and Liat still around? They're still both of them still around in Granby.
Liat. What do you say, Cooper? Is it
Pupa,
Cooper?
what they call Liat. These were guys who were actually one of them had given me a very in-depth interview about his involvement with crack cocaine that was just kind of entering the scene at the time. But he was the main guy who would make sure that nobody messes my vehicle when I parked it on Block 44. And when I came back, the vehicle was usually clean.
Okay.
In case I went to Lawida or something like that, when I came back, he would, in fact, both Pupa and Liat, either one of them could probably take turns and wash my vehicle. And, of course, it would cost me something. But this was the nature of the kind of work that we did. And how Jeff I, Lachichi and others that got facilitated. G-Tech was formed over there in Geneva House. And when Sakis was
right.
growing popularity, Sakis decided that part of how it was going to contribute to community policing is that if ever people misbehaved in the band, they were going to stop the music. They may have done that before, but I think when they saw what we were doing to help create a community safety program in Grand Bay to help change the tone, they knew that they had enough power to control the crowd during Carnival and to help have a good name for Grand Bay. And even now, recently, I saw Sakis playing, and when people misbehave, they would kind of stop the music. I see Triple K was doing the same thing the other day. So I think that when we engage something, Willie, that is a vision that is so big, what one of the lessons from Grand Bay is that they can last for a while, because when we do that, there is really no, as long as someone wants to continue the tradition, there's no timeline. And there's so many people who were part of what we started and who are not alive with us today. And what we are saying now, 30 years from now, whoever will be else will be carrying this, what are the ways that we need to behave ourselves? We need to think about who we are individually, who we are as a family, as a community. What are the types of values that we need to have, that we believe, things we believe in? And what are the virtues? That means the things that, based on the belief we have, ways that we are going to conduct ourselves, and what are going to be our rules of engagement. Because that work that is ahead is not work we can do by ourselves. So we need to have ideas about how we engage with each other, and how we engage with each other need to be related to how we build ourselves as individuals, families, communities, and the like. And those things must be grounded in some core values. So, and that's what I was talking about in the part of the show. Were you about to make a comment?
Right. Well, one of the things, the thing about it is, many of us today will not be alive in the next 30 years. So we've got to engage with some young people who may be alive in the next 30 years. As I said before, this group YADAV was very instrumental in helping you do your research and so forth. I think we need a group like this that is conscious of what the issues are, and who are willing to do certain things, such as what they used to do, having rallies and so forth, to sensitize the community. And actually, it helped many of them individually. So we need something like that, a group like this, even now, and they can sort of plan for the future and can take it from there. But I think it's essential. But there are signs right now. There are signs anyway. I don't know if you remember this young lady, Miss Paquette. I mean, she might have been a member of the group as a young Yadav member. She's now trying to establish a Girl Guides group in Granby. But what I find is lacking in Granby is some of these groups, youth groups and other groups, scouts and other youth groups and community groups. That to me is lacking, because this is where you have a forum, you can talk, you can discuss and so forth. Nowadays, a lot of the discussion is really on an individual basis, on a chat group. People, the young people nowadays, they go on Facebook to get the news. They don't listen to most of them don't listen to regular media. They get all their information on Facebook, or they go on WhatsApp, or or they have a little chat group among themselves.
Yeah, Willie,
so it's as if we are becoming more individual. That sense of society, we are losing that, where we can get together and discuss issues and plan something and move on. So everybody nowadays is on their cell phone.
Yes.
So
Willie, what I'm thinking,
that sense of community, we seem to be losing that.
Okay, well, and you're saying we need to rescue that. And what that reminds me is Julian Paquette was at the time working with, I don't know if he's still working with youth, but he was the head of Yadav at the time. We had Nick Kesley fam.
Yes, he was.
Had a whole career as a police officer.
But he's no longer a youth officer.
Okay. Well, that's a long career he had, right? It's already 30 years. We had Maripere Loben Colobria. We had there was a Nikes Lifam was one of them, but there's also Cleo Lifam that was with us, Grell Baron.
Right.
And
well, actually, Cleo is now the chairperson of the village council.
No way. Well, I need to reach out to Cleo. No way. Oh, wow. She was always so bright. She was, like you say, they were my main research assistants. I need to get an interview with Cleo, because that is, can you imagine that, right? That doesn't surprise me a lot at all, because she's such a young, dynamic person, Hopefully we can do an interview with her. So we also have on the line, can you imagine, we have less than half an hour left in our show. And Willie, I don't know if you know Nikes, I'm sorry, not Nikes, sorry, Ninka. Ninka is also from Grand Bay. She.
Yeah, I know. I've heard of Nika. Yet I know her mother. I know her grandfather. I know the family.
So Ninka,
but I don't know her very, very well.
Now, Ninka, she's online with us. Ninka, tell us what you have heard. What are your thoughts about what I have said? What Willie Favre has said? Do you agree with him about the fact that what you think about what he has said about the young people needing to come together? And it's fine that they're on their phones, but they need to have face-to-face interactions. What do you see as a young person in Grand Bay that is needed if we have to have a more peaceful Grand Bay and a more peaceful community? Turn on your mic, Ninka, and let us hear from you. That would be great.
Yeah, we really need to come together and get more jobs for the young people, and just keep them off the streets, keep them out from danger, and keep them busy. Exactly. That we need to do it. That is the biggest problem in Dominica with jobs.
So how do you think
people saying have plenty jobs, but it don't have plenty jobs. People giving who they want jobs.
So how we go about and create what are your advice? What's your advice about how we should go about and create those jobs?
Well, what they can do now, I have to think about that if I'm to come back and tell you because right now, but now I don't have nothing in mind now.
Your mind about that. Well, but
But
at least you're saying that that finding those work is important. Now, Ninka, among the young people that you know, what type of work that you find young people are generally interested in doing around now?
well, people more like to sell, you check.
Mm.
People more like to sell, like interfere with money, like the money coming in and changing and then them. People more like to involve in the money and you can more like when the selling it's a faster vibes.
Yeah, I remember when you were with me at Peaceology Acres. And by the way, if there's the radio that's in the back, turn it down a little because it has a little feedback. But when you were in at Peaceology Acres, Trafalgar with me over the Christmas break, I remember when you look at my sugarcane garden, you were thinking about how you could have a machine and sell sugarcane by the road. You mentioned about people selling jelly. So it seems that what you're saying is consistent with what you're talking about. That if they get into things that involve sale, because they have the immediate financial transaction in their hands, is that the type of thing you're talking about? Are these the kinds of things you're talking about?
Yes, cause that
Yeah.
talking about it.
Well, all right.
That's sell.
Yeah, well. Thanks for giving the insights that you have given. Do you believe that there is room now for young people to organize face to face? Because a lot of people Willie said a lot of them spend time on the phones. Do you think that young people now are interested in forming groups and meeting face to face to develop themselves?
Well, once they have a money to do with it, sure they will be interested. So if you have a little stipend giving them or something, once they have a money involved, they must be interested.
Hmm. Well, that's important to know, and there are ways to do that. I mean, somebody may want to say, "Oh, not everything is about money," but I think you can have fun and make money at the same time, and you can have youth attention. And I can tell you, as a person that's doing youth development and in Trafalgar Peaceology Acres, I mean, the guys can make a little change doing some work with me, but also, I can see things because they come to me and want a job, to do some things. Even the little kudme that we're doing something that's called Dimi Kudme. And the Dimi Kudme is basically, Kudme is like free work, but the Dimi Kudme is that you're getting a little change, because like when you were with me in Trafalgar, we were doing the Kudme and we were doing the power washing, you still got a little something to put in your pocket because how many days you were working and it's probably one day is okay, but all those other days. But a lot of young people told me that they're just sitting around, they're probably not doing anything. They can come and help out. And as a matter of fact, when we build the Peaceology Museum, I want to have Mathilde John from Trafalgar. I was in Ivor's shop while we were getting ready to do the Kudme. And Mathilde John said to me, Boy Keith, I like the idea of what you have. But even if it's a $20 you can give somebody to put in their pocket, they know it's help, they're helping. But things are so hard that even if it's a little $20, you're not saying that's the value of the day. But just give them a little something to put in their pocket so they can get something to eat, they get something to drink, or they can do something with it. And I told Martin that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's that idea from Mathilde that actually helped me to develop the idea of what we're doing at Dimi Kudme. And actually, we have selected, and one of the shows we'll talk about that. We have selected two in Trafalgar in the area by the packets there. We want to power wash the walls and somewhat the third week, the weekend of the 20th of March. And we have spoken to Dane George in Wharton Waven. He has the shop there where we want to help him to put a flushing toilet outside of his business so that people in the community or people who patronize his business can have an ability to use the toilet, use the bathroom, instead of having to be in the bush and so on. So I think even with those projects like that, even if it's not a big employment project, there are young people that saying, Keith, Keith, because that's how I know. If you're doing something like that, we would like to be able to help. And even if you give us a little something to help us, that's good. So even if it's not like big employment, but just something small can be very helpful in this regard. Yes. So Willie, I know our time is kind of winding up, and Ninka, thanks for your contribution. As you look back into the 30 years that we started this work, the changes that happened. Pierre Charles was on the ground with us. Charles Gregoire, the former police chief, and others who came and went, like Coffee Williams and Antoine Defoe and so on. What type of advice would you give the police? And I know you say you have community meetings with them. What kind of advice would you give the police in terms of what this next generation of community policing or community engaged policing should be like, especially if we talk specifically about Grand Bay? What have we learned that you would advise the police at this phase?
Well, we do have this chat group. And I think that what we probably need is more of the younger people being encouraged to be part of this chat group. Because you see, just as Linka expressed her view as a young person, I mean, we need to hear more from the young people, younger people, people in their 20s and 30s and so forth. I think we should broaden this chat group, because all of them have their phones, and I'm sure we can identify those who might be interested and to join this chat group and express their view as to what the whole police community relations should be doing, and how they themselves can participate. Because I believe that the participation of the young people is critical as we move forward with this. But I must say, though, that Grand Bay is quite peaceful nowadays. I mean, this is the carnival season, and Saki is on the road almost every night, and you don't hear of any serious incidents. And there are people who are looking out for any possible misbehavior, and they make sure that they nip it in the bud. So that's a good sign, because there was a time when if you tried to interrupt, let's say, the jump up by stopping the van and so forth, there would be an uproar. But now people understand. So when Saki decided to stop drumming, people accept that more today than they did in those days. So these are small signs that tells you that people are more interested in having peace, less violence, and so forth. So we hope that can continue.
So you're saying that you have seen kind of a mindset switch, and a way that that's why.
Yes, certainly.
And Willie, you may remember, and we don't. I mean, I may not necessarily call the name because I want to save. We don't have to. I don't necessarily have to call the name, but you may remember that we, in 1997, we implemented community policing, and when we were writing the program, the Grand Bay people we had the focus group. We wanted something like the community safety program. And the police said that if we did not call it community policing, they were going to pull out, because Grand Bay people, you're told, I am a police. I don't know if you remember that conversation. And we were basically in ransom.
No, I don't.
We knew that if we had said, no, we want to call it community safety program, then the police would have pulled out.
Yes, that I remember.
You remember. Now, what you are telling me is the core of what was successful in Grand Bay, and why Grand Bay people wanted to call it community safety, because the guys on Block 44 had their own way of putting order when people misbehave. Sakis had its own way.
That's correct.
And the guys who were in line with who probably didn't interfere with police, when they say somebody acts in a certain way, or if they were somewhere in Geneva House or somewhere, they would approach them in a way that would be reflective of wanting a more peaceful Grand Bay, but your party left by police. When GTEC moved from Block 44 to Geneva House, Lachichi and those others had their vision for how they could contribute to a safer Granby. They didn't want to do policing because policing to them was oppressive. So what you explained just now about Sakis is that Sakis is kind of is the continued invention of that idea of the community people taking responsibility in their own creative way to have order in their community. And the
That's correct.
What we call things make a difference, and one of the things I like to see with this new rendition of the community policing effort, as you know, I have had my own critiques of how whether community policing is still a good approach. And what I said is that the way it was going on, it needed the window for community policing need to be open, or we need to be calling it something else, because until the recent rendition of how community policing is doing, what was being done before was not sufficient to develop the tradition that we had built. But now working with Sergeant Andrew, with Corporal Moses, and with Timothy again, SP and others, I can see that there's hope. I've had conversations with the Minister of National Security, Mr. Blackmore, who have been both on our radio show here at Peaceology State and Peaceful Nature Island, Kyrie, and he himself, is a strong supporter of community policing and wants to continue that effort. But I hope that I know I invited the police officers, and I know they're not just free to just come on the air anytime, but we are hoping that when we have our next show on the 30th of March, I'll be in studio, and hopefully we'll be able to get permission to have some police officers join us in that regard. Well, we are coming up to the end of our show. We are really there at the end. Lambi, let's have get a song queued up. But as the song queues up, I want to remind us that we are planning another Peaceology Kud May. I will mention some of this. The 16th of March on Peaceful Nature Island, Kyrie FM, we will talk some more about this. But on the 20th of the weekend of the 20th, 21st, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of March, we want to be doing a Dimi Kudme in Trafalgar area by the packets, the wall, to help power wash and paint the wall area there, and maybe some other sections of the community. And in Waterwaven, we have gotten permission from Dane George to be able to help him out with designing and putting a washroom outside of his shop so that people in the community can ease themselves up during that time. And I will soon reach out to sponsors again as for support. We will contribute my personal resources or business resources from Peaceology Acres. I want to really thank, Joan and Algie of Le Petit Paradis in Waterwaven for the sponsorship and the support that they have provided. Rachel Russell, Back to Eden, Waterwaven have supported our efforts. We also want to thank Strictly ITEL, Tarifa Burton and others her who was a supporter. We have some anonymous helpers and donors in Waterwaven and elsewhere in Trafalgar who prefer that we do not mention the name. We want to thank them for the support. Christabel John Baptist, Anthony St. Jean, and others who support the effort, Papiat, and others to really say thank you to Brunch and Munch, with Sandrine in Trafalgar, and those of you who support the efforts when we just bring their labor to the fore. We also want to say thank you to the people of Silver Lake, to say thank you to Edista James, and to say to her mother, Esther Bello, and the others in Silver Lake for for continuing to work with us to build Peaceful Nature Isle, to build Peaceology, and to live the kind of lifestyle that we want for more Peaceful Nature Isle. So as we wind down, we're going to take some final comments. Nick, I want some final comments to you. Any last set of words you want to give, any kind of advice you want to give to our listeners as we talk about the way that we need to do things if we want to have a more peaceful nature island. Then we'll go to you, Willie, and then we'll sign ourselves out. Nika, what are your final thoughts?
No, I check in. I really like to help youth. So one day I'd like to be a youth officer. I don't. That's not really a dream, but I just checking. Like the way I like to do the youth, and I have plenty ideas for youth. But I just checking one day I can maybe be a youth officer. So I think I can involve myself in that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. In fact, Ninka, I can attest to that because when you're in Trafalgar with me over the Christmas break, you worked very well with those young people, and they seem to naturally gravitate towards you. I told the little guys, the little guys that want to play bad, I told them that you were going to be in charge of them. They didn't like that idea too much, but they always would square up with you. You were relating really well with them. So if you have a desire to help out, a Cleo Lifam, I know Dinka, you live somewhere else. I don't know if you know Cleo, where if Cleo is at the council, they go, and the one in Grand Bay or so on. If Cleo knows that, and those who know you can, I can attest to the fact that the young people seem to gravitate, towards you. None of us are angels. I have my own faults. We all have our own faults. But I'm glad to hear that you're willing to help. And I look forward to continue to collaborate with you on the show, to join me on the show, to help to bring your voice, the youth voice, the street voice, whatever kind of voice we want to say it is, but the voice of people who are trying to make positive and are making positive differences in their life. So, Ninka, I want to thank you for joining me on the show again tonight. And hopefully we'll see how things go when we have our next show on the 16th on Kyrie FM, but also here on the 30th we'll be actually in the radio station on the 30th. If hopefully you can join us then, but I'll continue. And I thank you for your collaboration. Willie, what sort of parting thoughts you have for us, 30th anniversary? I'll hopefully have an opportunity to speak with you again. But what are some of your thoughts just from our discussions today?
Yes, well, first of all, thanks for inviting me to the program. I think one of the things that when you come down to Dominica, one of the things that you probably need to do is to meet with the village council. It's a young village council, but as I said, it's headed by Cleo, who you know very well, and who was probably involved in the non-violent movement at the time in those days in the late 90s. As a matter of fact, when I was chairman, she was our youth councillor. So she had moved from youth councillor to senior councillor and chairman of the village council. So it would be very instructive for the new set of village councillors to sort of get familiar with this peace movement and to sort of push it in Grand Bay. We shouldn't allow it to just disappear. So that's what I would suggest.
Thank you so much, Willie. And David Andrew is listening to us with those advices. I know that they're meant to do the program in Grand Bay. And Willie, mute your mic. Mute your mic. While I know that we are I'm part of the committee, the community policing committee in Silver Lake, and one of the things that we're doing is joining with the Rotary Club for a mentoring program, and with Gloria Walsh of Love One Teach One Foundation, and with Esther and with Edistar on the ground, and the other young people in Silver Lake. Hopefully, when I'm in Dominica next month, the young people like the Lapo Kabwe, they like Lapo Jingping, they like acting, they like the quads and like the ATVs and the things like that. So hopefully, we can build this up to have interest through Peaceology, through the police, through Rotary Club, and through the churches and the community groups. I like to have the churches involved because I think the inspiration that we get from faith, the foundation that we have for people who are grounded in some belief that is bigger than ourselves. I think these things serve really well. And in Peaceology, we do believe, as we say, faith, hope, and love are among those pillars. I want to thank our listeners tonight. I want to thank the gentleman who called. And for those of you who have not called, who did not call, because some of you say, Doc, we like to listen to the show. Because we're not calling doesn't mean we're not listening. I want to thank you for listening and sharing the word of what we're doing. And I will ask you to look out on my WhatsApp status for more information on the Dimi Kudme that we'll be doing on the weekend of the 20th of March. I will continue in dialogue with you. We have some big news, that we are hoping that we can deliver in the next few weeks. But I will wait for them to materialize later on. But in this 40th anniversary of the Grand Bay Area Neighborhood Study and the 20th anniversary of our book, Lessons from Grand Bay, that came out from that with the subtitle of Prospects for Maintaining Low Crime in Dominica, Nature Island, and the Caribbean, we'll continue that tradition. And as Willie Frevrier and Ninka have told us, as they have agreed, that investing in our youth for a peaceful current time and a peaceful future, that is a very important goal. Thank you again for watching. I'm your host, Dr. Peter K.B. St. Jean, here on Peaceology State on the 9th of February of the year 2026. And we'll leave the remaining time so we can listen for a tune by Ayub Moransi and then sign out. Lambi, thanks again for being in the studio. The staff, management and staff of Q95, the big station, thank you so much for allowing us to be on the airwaves. Good night, everybody. Good night. Thanks, Lambi. Good night, Ninka. Good night, Willie. Bye-bye.
Let's go.
Yes.
Good night.
Yes, good night.
Good night.
Yes, Lambi, I think, is queuing up his music. Very good. Right.
Oh nous oui, et nous ka aimer, et nous toujours fâchés, chaque lettre nous ka parler. On samedi, nous aller en ville pour nous parler, tout nous bien fâchés.